Hello everyone and welcome to the LSI F1 World Championship. We're today for the Belgian Grand Prix, the longest lap on the calendar. We're currently only a few minutes away from the end of qualifying. We've got many drivers getting ready to start their final laps, and obviously earlier than usual to make sure that they do have enough time. Pursoon 2400 returns once again to LSI, and they are currently out on track looking to set what will be their only lap. What can they get done here today? And then we'll go on board with that will be the McLaren, as Tom is not going to be setting another lap. It will be Heischler, the championship leader, who looks to try and extend further. Pursoon, all a bit loose on the rear end, but across the line, what's it going to be? It's going to be a 41.962, and I think that's a pretty good effort considering they don't have too much running in this game. Heischler, though, getting ready to begin their final lap and their attempt at pole position. Currently a little way away from it. Sulkin has a decent gap to everybody now as they go into turn 4, braking as hard as they possibly can and getting that rotation in, trying to avoid the understeer and then getting on the throttle to give yourself the best run all the way up through a Rouge and down to the Lacombe chicane. I will say that I forgot what I was going to say. The Lacombe chicane is coming up now with Heischler, and they're going to try and go as close as they can to the white line, all over the curbs, just trying to avoid that loosey-goosey part where it really does throw you off, and they avoid it nicely down the hill, trying to avoid locking up that rear or that front tyre, and they did unfortunately get a bit of locking. Still look pretty tidy. A bit of understeer as you try and turn those fronts in as they start to heat up with that locking up moment that Heischler's just had. That's not going to help. Oh, and a little bit too hard over Pouon on the inside. That's going to have to have been a lift, if not a big correction, which will have lost them a lot of time. And they go through Piff Paff, aka the Fazania chicane, and that's another ride on the curb, and unfortunately that's going to be a complicated one to recover from. A little bit loose on the rear end as well. They're still up on the sector times, 1.5 tenths improving. Would they be able to secure that position ahead of Briscoe? Briscoe has an opportunity to also improve and get ahead of the McLaren once more if Heischler can nail this final chicane, that is, across the line. After this it will be, and DRS momentarily on the exit looks pretty tidy. What's it going to be for Heischler, the championship leader? And they go ahead of Briscoe, 2.5 tenths almost improvement. Still a long way away from Sulkin, but that's a good effort. It's Briscoe who will not set a valid lap time, and that's going to be it for the Portuguese man. It's going to be Igor P7, and it's going to be then Nifoyan who will cross the line next. We'll see what Nifo can do. They're currently up on their time. It looks like it's a small margin, but we've got the final major time gain section of the circuit, the final chicane. A little bit all over the curbs. Is it going to be good enough to improve? And it is just, but it's not going to get them an extra position. Verf crosses the line, the championship contender from a few races ago, gives it their best shot. And although the championship is a lot more difficult to contend with now, they're still on the second row of the grid. And that is Sulkin on pole position, Heischler in P2, and then we've got Briscoe in P3. That's the rest of the grid. We'll go through the race director just in case, and we'll be back for the race. We'll see you in a bit. Ready, hold, go! Who's going to get it into turn one? Sulkin on the inside line. They should be able to get there. Heischler will not be able to consider anything side by side for the other cars. It's Egapro who has a big issue and a lag spike from someone as well. That's Nifo all the way down the order. What the hell happened? Off the line, down now 3 seconds. There's a big problem there. Hopefully that's the last we'll see of it, but they have got a long old race ahead of them to catch that back up. It's Heischler on the outside line in the slipstream trying to get through, and they do so as they power past the Ferrari. That is a brilliant move, as we like to expect into the Com chicane. P2 turns to P1, and that is pole position for Heischler effectively, and they stay there. Sulkin couldn't do much about that. They gave it a good effort, but what are the wings on those cars, and how will this affect the race? How will this affect the strategy? It's going to be a little bit crazy, that's for sure. The tyre situation is as follows. Briscoe Jr. on the hards once again, starting on the alternate tyre. And then we have Egapro in P7, 1.9 seconds away from this pack. Now, hopefully for their sake, this pack does slow each other down. But that being said, around a very open circuit like this, it's going to be quite difficult for the pack to slow themselves down. Well, he's just gained 3/10, but is he going to be able to hold that as we go down the back straight? No DRS here, but it is a big old slipstream train. Heischler leads the way, pulls everybody along with them. Verf in the background looking to try and have a go here on the hard tyre run of Briscoe. Briscoe turns the battery off, and I don't think they're going to be fought with that one, and there is the switch. Lovely stuff. Verf slightly makes a little bit of a misjudgment. That's going to be Pursoon all over the rear end, making a few mistakes here and there, but good to go regardless. In the background, Nifo's done a brilliant job to catch up, and Egapro isn't that far away, so it's not over yet. This is still everybody's race. We've got Verf in P3, who's made that progress. They're now sitting behind the two race leaders. DRS is available for Sulkin. Would they try and go for an immediate overtake to get back into P1? Well, no, they don't. They look to rather instead stay there behind. That's going to be a move for Pursoon, who goes ahead of Briscoe. Would that be a big mistake for Briscoe setup-wise, not track-wise, just setup-wise? Have they got a bit too high on the wings? Are they going to have a long old race ahead of them? Because no way do you get overtaken from having hard tyres. Well, they currently don't have the grip over the medium tyre, so we'll see in a few laps' time if that is the case, because Briscoe's tyres will get better and they should be able to go quicker. Unless they've got damage, they're using a lot of battery to try and catch and gain and maintain the gap with the other cars in front. Even throughout the corners, they seem to be losing out a little bit. So I'm not entirely sure what's going on with Briscoe's situation. The race winner from a few races ago back in Spain, as they almost had a look at taking it in Brazil. Unfortunately, a very unfortunate safety car for their race changed everything. And that's Sulkin right at the back of the McLaren this time around, looking very competitive. Also, Nifo and Egapro are within DRS range of each other, and they're going to try and work together to try and catch the cars in front. It's Sulkin in a clear firing line of getting in front of the Papaya car, and it's not really going to take too much to question whether they'll go for the move or not. Well, Heischler's using the battery. They've got the battery turned on, but it's always going to be the inside line. It's always going to be the move at that kind of speed. That's Sulkin into P1, and we'll see how the momentum changes from P3 and behind, because that is a very, very quick Ferrari with the McLaren using some battery surely at some point. All of a sudden P3 doesn't get a really good effect of DRS and they can lose out. It's Pursoon holding on to the back of the train at the moment, thriving considering their circumstances. Briscoe is just about holding within DRS range. The tyres seem to be a bit of a struggle for them, well, at least until now. From 1.4 seconds away, hasn't been able to do much of staying with the pack until now, so they've had to drop back a little bit with the a grey rendering on the rear and front wing. Whether that's intentional by the game or not, I don't quite know. But Nifo is making slow progress and looking to try and get DRS within a few laps' time. EagerPro can't really do too much about staying with Nifo. They do have the tyres that will be better a little bit later on. But right now, just trying to catch up to the Ferrari is the Dutchman. And they're doing a good job of it. Just how quickly can they do so? Sulkin leads the way. It's Heischler in P2, and it's Heischler very close. They might not go for the lead. They might stay behind and save the battery, but they're gaining very quickly. It's going to be a side-by-side moment, I think, you know. That was very close to side-by-side, but Sulkin does, I think, probably back out a little bit there to just make sure that they're all safely through. It is lap 4 out of 22 after all. The least laps you can get in a Grand Prix, but still a long way to go. A very long lap, that's why we've got less laps in total, but it still is a tough race overall to complete. It also means that the strategy is very, very crucial. It also means that the lap times can be a little bit bigger. The room for error over a longer lap is much more than it would be if we were somewhere like Austria with a very short lap. So when it comes to the pit lane and trying to overcut and undercut somebody, then that can be affected. We will see how that goes. A couple of years ago, Heischler had a brilliant strategy around here to undercut many cars. Would they be able to try and replicate that today? I'm not entirely sure. EagerPro hasn't been able to hold on to the back of Nifo, but Nifo does have DRS on Tom. Tom's lost a bit of time to the pack in front, but Nifo's going to try and bring both of these guys into it. Heischler leads the way. I don't see Sulkin making a move at this stage. I think they'll probably sit behind for this one. There is a big gap right there. We will go back to Nifo, who will make that move on Tom. Tom moves all the way to the inside line and then slots in behind, and they continue on their way. Nifo now trying to use the momentum to try and catch up to the next runners. 2.4 seconds. It's a big old gap, but they've definitely made a massive amount of progress from earlier on with the big issues. You've got to respect the effort. It's really frustrating that they had some sort of problem in that manner. Heischler continues to lead. They've just been stuck in the train in P3 at the moment, and Pursoon eventually got past Briscoe Jr. Well, I say eventually, pretty quickly into this race, and they're sitting in P4, but they're going to have pressure at some point soon from Briscoe on that hard tyre. How hard will Pursoon fight the Williams car, though? That's the question, because if they don't fight the Williams car, then, well, it's going to be a much easier race for Briscoe, and they might actually have the advantage in this one. If they do get fought, then maybe the strategy from Briscoe's side isn't the one to go for. We just don't know until it happens. And I think it's really going to be the call now. Briscoe's getting ready to make some sort of move, getting onto the battery a little bit too early though. This Pursoon also had a big mistake under braking. And Briscoe's finding that they are maybe getting a bit frustrated sitting behind the cars that are not so fast anymore. It's Pursoon who's turning off the battery already. It's going to give Briscoe, well, a slingshot, but that's just created a massive gap in the field that Briscoe's now going to try and bring down with barely any battery. I think Pursoon's tried to drop back because they thought, well, they don't have any battery, so they'll allow Briscoe to do that, but instead they've now just got a big old gap. The good thing is Briscoe has the tyres to be able to catch back up to the pack, but that was a risky call that maybe wasn't really necessary. I think Briscoe was going to make that move regardless, and now Pursoon's just out of DRS range from Briscoe, so that was a strange one, but it's happened. And we'll see if anything changes from this. but Briscoe's going to stir up the pot because Heischler and Sulkin currently controlling the pace in P1 and P2. Verf sat in P3. They're going to probably see Briscoe go through on them. And then Sulkin and Heischler have to do something, whether they pit or whether they try and overtake each other. But if they have a Williams in between them on a different strategy, then that makes everything a little bit cloudier. And that is a brilliantly early move from Briscoe. Clinical stuff, making that very deliberate move. The early decision to make that one. They know that they have the tyres and they know that they'll immediately get DRS. So they can afford to make that move because the threat, the risk factor of losing the position once again after using a load of resource and ERS is basically none. And now Sulkin is their next target, but without any ERS, I think this is going to be a bit of a quiet half a lap for Briscoe. They're trying to use any battery that they can, but that's going to leave them vulnerable to Verf. Verf chooses not to use any battery. I think they know that the tyres are going to be much more beneficial to the Williams car overall. In the meantime, we see EagerPro move ahead of Tom as the tyre phase switches over. It's a big old mistake there from Tom as I said, the tyres are pretty old. That's 2 seconds to Nifo and then to Pursoon. Pursoon did momentarily gain DRS once again, but then they have lost it. Verf sitting at the back of the pack of the top 4 with a lot of battery. But we're trying to see what Briscoe Jr. can do, and they've got now a lot of battery to use, but I think they're having to really work hard with this one because that car from earlier on at least appeared to not have much straight line speed at all, and you can see they're charging that battery, but unless you catch someone else off guard with lower wings, you can't really make a move. And so far Briscoe is just having to sit behind it. Heischler into the pit lane, a late call, but they've got the job done, and surely someone else is going to react. There it is, Nifo goes in with the race leader, looks for the undercut. That's the best thing for their race, to be honest. 1 lap difference could be everything. Will we see a reaction from anyone? Well, regardless, Briscoe's going to go into the lead of the Grand Prix. They've got battery, they've got DRS and ERS. It's nothing for Sulkin other than a bit of ERS, but they turn the battery off. That's a clear move for Briscoe Jr. now in clean air, able to make use of this full circuit as if it's their own. Sulkin's got to make that decision whether they go into the pit lane, so does Verf. That's Pursoon also staying out, but 4.5 seconds away, and they're very close to the EagerPro at this stage, who also hasn't pitted, so there's some sort of mistake there for Pursoon that we didn't see, unfortunately. I think they're still good to go, and I don't believe they have any damage. It would be quite impressive to have damage around an open circuit unless we see a big old yellow, but we haven't seen a big old yellow. We have seen a 3-second time penalty from the driver in question. Heischler currently out there on track on these new tyres. They've got Nifo 5.1 seconds back, but Nifo's hoping that the pack in between will all mix up a little bit, and that will bring them back into this race from the woes they've had earlier. They haven't given up. Tom in P8 also having a brilliant start to the race, but just hasn't been able to quite hold on to the rest of the pack. The undercut is their best chance at this race as well. Briscoe stays out, Sulkin is in, and Verf is in as well as expected, and I assume Pursoon will also be in. That is a very worn out tyre, looking at it from Sulkin's POV as they go in for the new fresh rubber. There it is, the hard tyres on. Verf will do the same thing. And so will Pursoon, and they leave on a very even strategy, and actually it's even closer than they thought it would be. Perfect stuff from Sulkin and Verf, who are in DRS range already, and Heischler has not seen the benefit at all. If anything, they've seen no benefit and actually a negative out of all of this. DRS and ERS is still available, and Heischler's got 1 lap older tyres. What a disaster of a strategy. Well, sure, they've made sure that they are ahead, but if they pitted on the same lap, they would have probably been ahead anyway as well. So that is a difficult call from Heischler. They're just hoping that they can manage their tyres perfectly to the end of the Grand Prix. We've got Pro in P2. At this stage, not pitting so far, starting on the hards. And same for Briscoe, whereas they are P1. And they are in the battle for the lead. They're in the train, or the lead train, of this race. When will they go into the pit lane, I don't know. But considering everybody's just been into the pit lane either this lap or the last previous lap, then we're not going to see it for, well, until lap 12 at least. So Briscoe Jr. is going to be on their own for a bit, and we'll let that one slide. Sulkin, or are they going to let Heischler slide? I don't know. They're going to probably force them to make a few slides as they try and put them under pressure. Verf's going to be in the same scenario. Out of all of that, seeing Heischler not gain any significant lap time, Nifo also hasn't really done what they would have wanted either. Neither has Tom, which is frustrating for sure. But soon, unfortunately, after that mistake with dropping them closer to Igor, it does mean that they are now quite far back, and they maybe made another mistake, because that would explain why they're now 6 seconds behind Tom. Sulkin is the one to watch pressure-wise. Briscoe Jr., of course, we want to see if they go into the pit lane, but once again, we're not really expecting them to pit until about lap 12 at the earliest. Now we see both Heischler and Briscoe, Pro and Briscoe stay out. Now 6.6 seconds away are the race leaders. So that shows the difference in strategy. We'll now see Sulkin go for P1. The ERS and DRS is being used. Heischler's trying to stay ahead. They are using battery, but it's not going to work, and they are going to end up being overtaken regardless. That was a big old drag race into the Lecombe chicane. Of course, I think Heischler's probably turned the battery off by the time they get towards the end of the straight, or at least the halfway mark, but I think they have put the pressure on Sulkin by using a little bit themselves, just to make sure that Sulkin doesn't relax at all, but also it does actually help their race, because it means that they can kind of eke out that performance. If Heischler uses all the battery just enough to allow Sulkin to overtake and take the racing line, then that's the optimal situation. That's where you really gain the most time in a DRS train. Sulkin, 7/10 after overtaking Heischler. Heischler dipping a wheel in the grass. 8/10 now. They have checked out on this lap. Heischler's going to have to work a little bit hard on that button to try and make a difference. I think Sulkin was probably trying to have a go at keeping that gap up, but on a straight, it's going to be very difficult to combat. It's high risk, high reward. You could use your battery and make sure that the car behind is gone, but you could also use the battery. They stay with you and then they just absolutely destroy you later on. It is a big old risk. That's Eager Pro into the pit lane. That's the medium tyre. And we'll see the new pit stop runner go for a very different strategy and find out if those tyres are going to get them back into this race or not. Currently P7, and with no cars around them, the next car is Tom, and they're going to have to try and overtake as quick as they possibly can. A 4-lap old hard tyre versus a brand new medium, pursuing at the back of the field at this stage. Niffler's made good progress in this race, but 3.6 seconds from a train of cars is going to be complicated. Briscoe Jr. 17.4 seconds ahead of Sulkin, who is the net race leader. And we're expecting to see a possible pit stop from the Williams car this time around. Will it happen? I don't know, but is it going to be early or late enough in the race for the benefit? Well, Eagle thinks so. Briscoe, I assume, is going to think so on the following lap at least. And it's no, still staying out for the Williams car. Or maybe it will be the next lap, but currently they're happy with their pace, they're happy with the clean air, they're happy with focusing, maybe hoping for a bit of a safety car at this stage. Sulkin having a very good final sector, and that is a big risk for Heischler because DRS is almost lost. It regained on the start-finish straight into La Source up to Eau Rouge and Radion. It will be very tight, that's for sure, but not enough for Sulkin to be able to be confident in breaking away. They do end up just missing out, and Sulkin will be pressured from Heischler in the end. Going to Lacombe chicane, and that gap is brought down fairly nicely once more. Berth just kind of locked at this stage, not really able to do anything. They haven't risked anything, but they also haven't really stirred the pod up, so I'm wondering if they are relaxing or if they just genuinely can't find a way through. They've got a lot of battery in the car, so I want to say that they're relaxing, but I think if you were relaxing, you would have at least tried to make an overtake at some point within 13 laps. It's a bit of a question that we've got to try and figure out the answer to as we go in this race. It's currently lap 13 out of 22, and we are well over the halfway mark of this Grand Prix, and the tyres are only going to get more complicated in this race. Will we see P1 go into the pit lane? No, they stay out again. They only lost 4 tenths on that lap, really. I think they're still confident. They're still giving a good old shot. Sulkin leads the way, the net race leader. Eager Pro taking the fastest lap on this brand new medium tyre. It's definitely quick. They did get ahead of Tom already, and they're now going to try and catch up to Nifo. Their strategies are switching over. Eichler sits behind Sulkin, not comfortably with the level of battery they've got. They have some concern. Sulkin controlling this race nicely. Verth in control of their race nicely. I take back my words, with the way that they've driven so far, the body language, the resource usage that we can see so far in this Grand Prix, they appear quite relaxed. Whether that's the truth or not, I don't know, but like 14 out of 22. They should be okay. Who's going to have the best tyres in the end of the race? Well, it should be Verf and Sulkin. Verf kind of sat playing as a puppet in the battle of Sulkin and Heischler. All of these all race winners all this season as well, with Verf and Sulkin taking their first ever LSI F1 wins this season. It's Briscoe Jr. into the pit lane, and they leave the pit lane in the battle, and what about that? DRS is going to be available, and they're ahead of Verf. Absolutely incredible. No way have I just witnessed this. They're not going to have the DRS, surely. They do. Oh, wow. Absolutely amazing. Briscoe Jr. 8/10 away on medium tyres. They're in this battle. Their tyres are going to get warmed up very quickly. And I don't know what to say, but oh, wow. They have to hope that the cars behind are panicking and get in a bit of a squabble. Heischler is going to be in a bit of a situation. They've got to try and get past Sulkin, really, and then hope that they can stay within a train of Briscoe. If they don't, they might lose out big time, and that could be their race done. Briscoe Jr., they're going to try and hold their tyres on for as long as they can, and they stayed out for a good reason. They stayed out to make sure that their tyres weren't done by the end of this race. And they have planned that absolutely perfect. With the clean air, with the pit stop window, it's absolutely awesome. And they're right behind Heischler using the battery. Heischler's not willing to give in. It's the inside line going to be chosen, and they are going to go side by side. It's as close as you'll ever get. Absolutely precision stuff between the two, and it's a brilliant move once again. Briscoe Jr. on the inside line at Blanchimont. They're on the inside. They've got the move. They've now got a clear shot at making it P1. Will Heischler try and fight back? Well, they've used all their battery to try and stay ahead of the Williams car, and it's not worked out. So it's going to be a free move for Briscoe Jr. to be in P1 already in this race. Sulkin is surely going to try and defend this one. No, they're not going to defend. They open the door to the right-hand side. Briscoe Jr. leads the way. Here comes Heischler to look for a move as well. The inside. Surely that's not going to work. There's contact. Oh, it's so tight. It's just about thereabouts. Oh, Verf almost having a look at a switchback maneuver, but they stay away in the end. Contact just lightly from all of these cars, and the panic has set, and the gap is made. 1.7 seconds. Briscoe Jr. leads this Grand Prix and is having a phenomenal race so far. Is there doubt on their tyres? Yes. But right now they're doing everything right. 2 seconds already, breaking away with no answers. Heischler, Sulkin, Verf all sat in a trio looking to control this race to the end. But it's now switched up big time, and they could be bitten. 7-lap-old hard tyres versus 1-lap-old medium tyres. We've still got a way to go in this Grand Prix, and it's not over yet. But wow, 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 wow. That is incredible. Would we see anybody do a 2-stop? I don't think so. But Briscoe Jr. goes and sets the fastest lap of the Grand Prix. That is a 43.8, and these guys have just done... Oh, that's a mistake from the Eagle Pro in the background, unfortunately. That's going to allow Tom and Passoon to catch back up. Looking at that, a 46.2 from Tom in the end. So that is absolutely incredible stuff. The lap times that Briscoe's putting in at this stage is just unfathomable at this stage. I don't know what to say. I'm speechless, quite honestly. 2.0, 3.0, 3.2. There's only more to come from this man. Lap 17 out of 22. Sulkin is going to try and stay ahead, I think, of Heischler for as long as they possibly can, because although they want to try and catch up to Briscoe, they're probably assuming that they'll catch up at some point soon anyway. If they do that, then they want to be the one to be in front by the time they do, because by the time they do, it's going to be very difficult, considering the amount of laps that they'll have is going to be virtually nothing. Not many laps to gain would be very tight at the end of the Grand Prix. It would mean that you have to be that person in P2, because you might be the only one to get the chance at going for P1. The other cars behind could end up just being stuck behind you. You have to get it right, otherwise it's all a waste and you've ruined the cars behind you. You've ruined their chances of taking victory as well. It's not actually too far away from all of this, to be honest. They are on 10 lap old hard tyres, but 3 seconds away. In the DRS train with the cars ahead, they are driving a phenomenal race as well. You just can't really see it as clearly as Briscoe's race with 4.4 seconds advantage. Eagle Pro has managed to recover some gap on the cars behind. It's Pursuit making the move on Tom. Into P7 they go with a time penalty, remember. We'll see how that changes the race towards the end. Lap 18 out of 22. We are coming into the closing stages, and Briscoe's really making use of these tyres whilst he can, because it may not be forever. You could not even see the other cars in the background coming to picture. That's how far ahead they are at the moment. Perfect stuff from Briscoe. Would we maybe see in the background a picture of the other cars in a different camera angle? Surely here? No. They've really made it work quite nicely. This surely will be a picture. There they are, just about in the background. 5.9 seconds, almost 6 seconds away as they go through the bus stop chicane. 5.9 it stays. Is the switchover already hit? No, it's still Pro Briscoe Jr. DRS trains for P2, 3 and 4. And they do have to try and start focusing on their attention on beating each other rather than taking the victory, because 6.5 seconds now with only a few laps to go might actually be done and dusted. It's now trying to shift that mindset to maximising your race. There it is, Heischler making that move. Verf's going to be on their way as well, surely to make something. They want to make the progress. They back out at the last second, and they didn't want to get the job done. Sulkin had the battery to play with as well. That would have been a very vicious battle. They would have had to have chosen one of them to back out, and neither of them would have wanted to back out. With Eichler just leading, they would have had a chance to break away, and currently 5/10 in front. They're looking strong. Once more, Verf is just at mercy to whatever Sulkin does. In the meantime, 2.4 seconds. Niffo has put an absolute flyer of a lap in, and is driving once again, I will say, a brilliant race to not really be fully rewarded, which is a shame. All of this will come to a close in a couple of laps time though. This trio has been with each other all the way in this Grand Prix. They haven't left each other's side. And even DRS, once they left the pit lane, they've been stuck together like glue. Glue that wasn't good enough to keep the Williams stuck behind. But here we go, there it is, Verf looking to the inside, turning on the battery at the last second is Sulkin to make sure that that Sauber does not go for the move. And that is exactly what Sulkin needs to be doing, a brilliant defence right there. tough, very tough, but getting it right for now. Verf once more does have some battery to play with. I think their best chance at getting a move is focusing on staying close to Sulkin, and then when Sulkin looks to go for the move on DRS on Heisler, then they have to try and go for the double overtake, or just at least one overtake on one of the cars. And even if it's not the final lap, as long as they overtake one car, then that's fine, but they're getting a bit distracted. Maybe the frustration's kicking in that they haven't been able to pass all these laps, making a mistake on the final few corners. It's pretty tough. You can't be affording to do that. Making a mistake in the final few laps, you can't afford to do that either. And Eager Pro, their day goes from bad to worse, unfortunately. Hopefully they've not got any damage. They don't, but I'm sure they're wishing they did. After a tough race, they probably wanted it to end a few laps ago. Well, they've only got one more, and they'll be able to make it work. They're going to go for a fastest lap. Briscoe Jr. still leading. 8.7 seconds in the lead of this Grand Prix. They didn't take pole position. In fact, Sulkin was clear of everyone else. But in the race, Briscoe, who joined LSI in the middle of this season, looked like they were using a lot of battery, getting pole positions but only able to win once, has now just proved everybody wrong. They're now 9 seconds in the lead of the Grand Prix. They can't see anybody behind them. Since making that pit stop, it's just been sailing into the distance for the Williams car. One of the greatest drives that you can see on a strategy masterclass. Briscoe is not going to be in any concern of this battle, though. This is the one that we've got to watch all the way to the end, because we're on the penultimate lap right now. We've got a few more corners until we begin the final. There it is. Briscoe Jr. begins the final lap of the Grand Prix. Heisler, the high pressure cooker moment, starts now. Turn 1 on the exit, securing the exit, making sure it's absolutely optimal, using some battery as they go up the hill to minimize the chance at any sniff of an overtake for the car behind. And Sulkin absolutely blasting everything. Or will they wait for the final section of the lap? Well, they're closing in a decent amount, but the engine is just not good enough to be able to challenge. They look to the inside, but Heisler's not going to be spooked off the circuit that easily. They've tried to charge with Sulkin to make sure that they had everything thrown at Heisler to give it a chance, but maybe that's just been enough from Heisler there. Half a battery, then they'll gain some more over the course of this lap to use it all the way into the final bus stop chicane, and that will be where they push to the maximum. Nifo 3 seconds away from this battle. I will say once again, a brilliant race, a brilliant effort considering their circumstances. We just can't quite see it because of that big old lag spike that they had at the start of the Grand Prix. They would have probably been in very good contention for these positions, definitely, if not more. Here it is though. Heisler, will they get challenged into the final section of the circuit? Well, Sulkin is right there. Where will it be? Left, right. It's going to be the inside line for Sulkin, surely. They are going to send it. They're going to brake so late. There's contact between the two. Oh, and that's never going to work. Verf, are they going to have a go? They're going to make the move. Heisler's down the order. And Sulkin to P2. Briscoe Jr. wins the Belgian Grand Prix in absolutely majestic style. Sulkin in a controversial P2, Verf to P3. Heisler, frustration will be raging in the cockpit there for P4, and Nifo in P5. Then it'll be Pursoon, Tom and Egapro will go for the fastest lap. Whatever just happened there in that final chicane should not take away from what this man's done today. Briscoe Jr. has just driven a perfect race. We had doubts at the beginning as they were getting overtaken very easily from everybody else, a bit too easy, and then losing a bit of time and looking like they were going to lose the pack. But what a switch up. A completely opposite play. Incredible. Briscoe Jr. takes the victory and fastest lap here in Spa. Then it's Solk into P2. It's Verf in P3. Then we've got Heischler, Nifo, Pursoon, Tom and Egapro at the back of the pack. The race directors on your screen. And then we will go through the pit stop section. We'll export the results. And we'll be back for the post-race interviews. Hello everyone, welcome to the post-race interviews of the Belgian Grand Prix. That was a pretty insane ending, I will say. We start with Nifo. We said a few times on the stream, noticing that you were actually having a really good race. Take away everything that happened at the beginning. What did happen at the beginning, and can you take us through the rest of your race if possible?
Yeah, at the beginning I just had a massive screen freeze and stood still for 4 seconds and couldn't see what was going on. And then when I unfroze, everybody was gone. So I mean, at that point I already knew the race was over. I didn't have much faith in the pace. Looking at quali, it has been a while since I've done a league race. I think a few weeks, like 2 or 3 weeks. So it was a bit of getting used to it, even though I did put quite a bit of practice in. But yeah, I thought the race overall was quite good. I think I had the pace of the guys in the DRS chain, but you don't get the DRS, so you can't really keep up if you don't have a massive pace advantage or tire advantage, which I didn't have. Like only Gijs was on the same tires as me, and the other two pitted a lap later than him, so had better tires. So and they were just, I mean, smartly DRS training each other, so I couldn't really gain anything. I did gain quite a bit, I think, because Gijs, when he came out in front of me, it was 5 seconds, and I think by the end it was like 2.5. So I did gain on him, but I mean, not much you can do. Overall, obviously, I'm disappointed because it's again something out of my control, which seems to happen quite a bit. But I think overall I've driven quite a faultless race. I got like one track limit and I had a lock up in the chicane like once, but I didn't even go that wide. So I think overall I had a pretty good race. Just nothing to show for it, just because of something out of my control in the beginning. But it's a bit of a mixed feelings. I don't know whether to be happy with a good race, because I've been struggling with a bit of consistency lately this season, just on my own, or to feel disappointed because obviously my race was ruined before it even started. So mixed feelings, but I think overall I should be somewhat proud of what I did. So I'll take that.
And the result, if the lag didn't happen?
I don't know. I mean, I could have still been P5. I could have been P2. It could have gone either way. It just depended on how the DRS training works. But I kind of like DRS training. I think the strategy and the racecraft involved in it is quite fun. So I think I would like to think I wouldn't be P5, but I mean, I think I would have fought for the podium.
Yeah, I mean, you won a race previously with pretty good strategic play and DRS train, so I think you know what you're doing. Thank you very much, Nifo. Really good effort today. Really good job at staying in the race and not giving up. We did recognise what you did today, so thank you very much for your efforts, and hopefully it goes better soon. Thank you.
Thank you.
And we move on to Tom. Tom, to be honest, holding on to the pack was actually pretty good for a couple of laps. Later on, dropped back a little bit, but you still had some battles. Can you take us through your race?
Yeah, it's a somewhat good race for me, but I'm mad at myself today. Like, in terms of mistakes I've made, I lost like 3.5 seconds, which isn't really good. Like, in the end, that would have made or put me in front of Pursuit, which would have been more points. So that's frustrating. Yeah, my race start, I was really happy with. Jumping in 2 cars right at the start. I didn't expect that would happen. I think it also was my best start this entire season. So that was nice, but yeah, what me bothers there is that I could have started in P6 already. So I might have had a chance to like get one other driver for like P5 in the start, and then lap 2 I made a small mistake and slightly touched the gravel at Le Comp, or at the ending of Le Comp, which lost me like 2-3 tenths there. And then I was around the second mark, and then I just slowly lost a bit of time, and then I was out of the DS train, which also made me really mad because my general pace was like 2 tenths, maybe at most 3 tenths of pace from everybody else, counting out the DRS training, which is good on one side, but my medium stint was so bad compared to what I did in practice. I was losing like half a second to a second in this race and to practice.
Do you know why?
I was a bit frustrated with myself after the mistake in lap 2. Maybe because of the bit of effects of dirty air that I got, which I didn't really have in practice. But else I don't really know, which was just frustrating. But then the hard stint was just nearly the exact same pace that I had in practice and could have been at least worth of P6.
I will say it's great to see you finding a bit of progress, and once again, a brilliant start to the race, and there was a lot of potential. So good to see you in the battles as well. Thank you very much, Tom, and hopefully see you next time. And we move on to Briscoe. Briscoe, what a race. I'm going to be completely honest with you here. At the beginning, with the strategy and almost losing to DRS, I was being a little bit probably disrespectful now I think about it, because I was saying that you were losing out and you weren't doing enough to stay in the race for the victory. That changed very, very, very quickly. And I don't know how you did it, but you stayed out and did the ultimate overcut. Can you take us through it? Did you do something like special with your setup, or are you just really good at the game?
No, my setup was for race, was a race setup, and more with wings, so it was like an overcut setup. But yeah, through the race, my race in quali was really unlucky for me. Invalidated last lap, did a 48, I think, would be on pole, but didn't matter because I wanted to start on that hards anyway. So I would lose that positions until fourth place, maybe. First laps, yeah, just focus on not losing the DRS train. Deployed all my battery in the first 2 laps, didn't fight with anyone. Then on lap 5, the arts were better at that point, and so just started to put my pace down. That was really good. Managed to gap Salkin, but later in the race was very important. Just pushed that hard until lap 14, I think. The mediums are very good at the start, so I had to gap in the first laps of that mediums, and I managed to do that with the help of Gitseller, because he fought with Salkin. So if I didn't gap, I think I would not win the race. But
I have
yeah,
a
overall,
question.
very good.
Did you push
Yeah.
at the beginning of your stint? Did you push on that medium tyre to begin with, or
Yeah,
were you trying
yeah,
to
a lot.
manage it throughout the entire stint?
No, a lot, because 8 laps, it didn't reach the 60s percent, but I didn't manage, just pushed it all. Because but yeah, overall very good race, very good setup, I had to say, and yeah, hope next win comes another win. Yeah, just was hoping to not come another safety car like last week.
Yep.
That, by the way, ended my race in Saudi Arabia.
Yep.
I think I would win that race, but unlucky last week, and I get lucky this week.
Yeah, good redemption this week, and I will say some incredible moves in Blanchimont. The back straight at the very end before the final chicane, absolutely awesome stuff. Side by side through a flat out corner. Well done. Thank you very much. Very scary. And we'll see you next time. Well done.
Thank you.
And we move on to Heisler. Heisler, that's really tough. All the way into the Grand Prix and then the final corners, it all goes completely the wrong way. Can you take us through your race? It was a long old one. It was a bit of a chess match, really, because just train all the way to the end from the beginning as well.
I wouldn't say it's chess, to be honest. It was pretty damn easy to just... the goal was not really making any mistakes in the first stint. I wasn't really bothered if I would be in the lead or in P2. I expected Salkin to pit lap 6, but he didn't, because the hards can make it like nearly the whole race. So I expected him to pit earlier than he did. So instead of him letting wait, how do you say it?
Letting him undercut you?
Yeah. Instead of him undercutting me, I decided to pit earlier. So he couldn't do that. I hoped that I managed to get out of his DRS by the undercut, but my outlap was the most horrendous lap I've ever done around Spa, so that didn't work. And then it was the same as the medium stint. I wasn't bothered to be in first or be in second. I wasn't really bothered about Brusco either. I was just thinking about the championship and where the position where I was in. And I just waited for opportunities, to be honest. They came, kinda. There was an opportunity to pass Salkin when Brusco passed him, but sadly he closed the door quite aggressively. I will let that one slide. It happens. I managed to overtake him again, and we've seen it throughout the season already that Salkin can use his tires quite a lot, especially if he's under pressure. So I knew I just had to chill. The opportunity again would come somewhere in the race, and as soon as I was ahead of Salkin, I saw as well that my pace was better than his. My straight line speed was better than his, so I could stay ahead of him on the last lap. But then, yeah, he made a desperate move in the chicane. I've already had contact with him via Discord, and it happens. He's just, I guess, he lost it a bit on the nerves. And to be honest, my position in the championship is still good after I've reported Salkin for it, so I'm not too bothered from it, and I will just continue to Hungary and try to win the championship there.
For sure, you're in a very strong position, and can't let that get to you. Very maturely said, thank you very much, Heischler, and a great race until that final moment. I know you wanted P1, but
P1 was not on the cards.
Championship-wise, it's going exactly the way you need it to. Thank you very much, Heischler. Really good effort today, and see you in Hungary.
Thank you.
And that's been it for the post-race interviews. Thank you very much for watching. It's been a pleasure. We will see you tomorrow for the F1.5 EU Championship. We'll see you next weekend for the Hungarian Grand Prix in the penultimate race of the season. See you in a bit. Bye-bye.